Please, here in the media room, we'll be starting an afternoon availability for you with another homecoming. Carl Edwards, native of Columbia, Missouri, driver of the number 99 Aflac Ford, 5th in the points, 1 win this year, and pretty good practice, Carl, out there at 192.055, bettering the track qualifying record. With your time out there, one of 4 drivers, I guess, who bettered that mark. So how are things out there during practice? It's very fast. That is, I mean, everybody's talking about how fast it is. Ricky Stenhouse came down and said, man, that's fast. And it is nice to be racing here very close to home. Hopefully we can put on a very good show and, and get that first win here. That would be huge. But everything is going well so far today for us in this practice, and we hope to have a good qualifying session and then get this Aflac Ford dialed in for the race. All right. If you have questions for us, let us know. We've got the wireless mics. We'll bring them to you. We'll start with Stan, then we'll go to Todd.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Carl, I know this is almost home and everything like that, but at other mile and a halves that seem to be almost identical, you've struggled a little bit. Yeah. What is so much different about this location that just seems to ignite you and put you on fire? Well, I wish it was as simple as just trying harder and making it mean more, Stan, but we had a good test session here. I think that's really the key. If you look at how well all the Fords ran, I think choosing this as one of our tracks to test on is going to help us here primarily. We were hoping it would help at places like Texas, and it didn't. We struggled there. Even when we finished 3rd and 4th, but we really struggled most of the night. So I think that what you see here is a result of our testing. But yes, there's probably a little bit of an effort factor in that I want to be on top of the sheet as badly as ever. Every time I get in the race car here, it's a special place. A cup win here truly would be as big as the Daytona 500 or any other race for me. It's a really special place for me. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Todd Palmer with the Kansas City Star. Obviously with everything going on this week in Boston and you guys being a part of Roush Fenway Racing, can you just talk about how the events this week and last night and today have affected your team? And is it hard to race under these conditions when there's some distractions?
I think that I know I can speak for all of Roush Fenway Racing in saying that we are. Our thoughts are with everyone there that's not only suffered, but all the confusion that's going on. I don't think anyone really understands exactly what's happened yet, and without sounding cliche or trying to, what Roush is doing is trying to do something to actually try to do something to help. So Steve Newmark and Jack Roush put together a program where Jack's going to donate some money to the cause up there to try to help with whatever they need help with. And then we also pledged $100 for every lap that one of the Roush Fenway cars leads at the racetrack this weekend. And, we've got a lot of ties to Boston with the Red Sox up there. I hear there's ties in the garage with folks that have lost family up there. So I think it's something that just reminds us all that what we do here is we're very fortunate to do it. And hopefully in some small way, just us racing this weekend and, somebody can get some amount of enjoyment out of it and know that we're all thinking about them. Stand by, Bob.
He's got a question from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's my spotter. He's
Bob Parker, Sporting News.
Yep.
Were you surprised that Penske had been working in the rear of the car when they kind of had more stricter rules were made for the rear of the car this year, and were you surprised at the extent of the penalties at all?
Yeah, I still don't understand exactly what they did. It's not been explained to me, so I don't have a real grasp on what exactly, what rule they broke. But no, it doesn't surprise me that anyone would be working on anything. If I hadn't thought of it that way, it's a good way to ask it. It's just it's a pretty stiff penalty, and I think it's I'm glad that we didn't get stuck with a penalty like that or something. I'm glad, that would be a tough thing to overcome. Go ahead, Brian.
Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network. Speaking of your spotter, we'll talk behind his back a little. What are you looking for from your spotter in addition to just clear high or, he's up alongside? what kind of information do you want from him during a race?
Oh, my spotter, Jason Hedleski, is a race car driver, and he knows the sport as well as anyone. He was a team manager for Don Levy Racing, and he's raced I think in every NASCAR division there is just about in ARCA. He's a great racer and he understands the sport. So from Jason, it's like, to me, I get a lot of suggestions. You know, he'll tell me, hey, you're losing a lot of time here. It looks like somebody else is doing this or that, and then he also understands the strategy of the race. So, you know, he won't come out and just say, hey, you're making a dumb decision here with what you're doing, but he'll kind of say, you know, you ought to think about this or that, or you know, that's huge. So I feel like, to me, Jason's a guy that could be a team manager at the Cup level, or you know, a crew chief at the Cup level. So to have him up there is it's a huge asset. And he's brutally honest. If I cause a wreck, I always ask, you know, when you get in a wreck, you're like, what did that look like? And if it's my fault, he'll say, it looks like you wrecked everybody there. And so he's real honest with me.
Carl, Rick Peterson with Topeka Capital Journal.
Yeah.
I assume this week you get a little more time at home, but how many days do you figure, I don't know if you've ever figured out, how many days a year are you on the road, and how many actual days off, pure days off, do you get?
I don't know how many days are we on the road, Randy. You know, you just, somebody used to keep track of that, but some years it's more than others. When running the Nationwide Series full time, when we used to test a lot back in 2005 and 2006, there were days where I think we went 30 days or something out going home, 40 days. But now, you know, it's a lot simpler, just running the Cup Series with limited testing. But then I don't think you know, I'm always thinking about racing. So it's, Jimmy and I were talking about that testing at Daytona this week. It's like you lay in bed and you have to think about something else because you think about every little part of the car, races that, you know, strategy you're going to have and things like that. So this is a pretty consuming sport from the competitor side. And I'm sure you guys are the same way in the media. But it's everything. You know, it's your whole life.
Yep, got to follow up with Stan.
I like the Missouri jacket there. It's pretty cool.
It is a good jacket.
Yeah.
One more question for RPM tonight. This is race number 7, I think, for you and Jimmy Fennick. If that's the numbers.
That's weird. It feels like a lot more than that. But
yeah. The numbers are bad, and it seems like everything's finally working too. I mean, I know it's only 24 hours and everything, but how important is this weekend to your relationship?
This weekend's really important. I think Jimmy knows how important this weekend is to me. I mean, and we talk about this race like I'm trying extra hard or something this weekend, but I mean, really, they're all very, very important. I mean, we want to win every race. I get, you know, anxious and nervous for every one of them because I want to do well. But overall, I guess the simplest way to put it, I was talking to Jeff Hammond this morning about Jimmy Finnick, and I said, when we have something go wrong, we have a problem or a bad race, it's not because of Jimmy Finnick. He's a part of the team that just in these 7 races, I've realized he's always on. He's always got it together. He's always dedicated. He doesn't... Jason's called me twice. There must be something going on. He just doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't lay down on you and give up. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. I mean, last week we finished 3rd with a car that was a 25th place car, and I mean, he played every angle of the pit strategy and stretching it on fuel and making adjustments that I've never made before with shims and huge swings at the track bar and stuff. So I mean, he made something happen last week from top of the pit box.
Other questions for Carl?
Summer Bedgood, frontstretch.com. I wanted to briefly revisit Boston. When things like that happen, and especially when you guys do have a somewhat of a Boston connection there, does it almost put racing back in perspective for you guys? I mean, I'd imagine with the daily grind, get caught up in the moment, and then when that happens, realize, and that's a big deal. I mean, does it put that in perspective?
Right. I think it's a little early for me to even put all of the events that are going on in Boston in perspective. I still I can't quite grasp what's gone on, what I guess the consequences of all of it are. But I think anytime you see something like that, for me personally, it makes me realize, hey, the world is is a crazy place, and there are a lot of things going on here and around the world that aren't good, and that we wish weren't happening. And we are very fortunate to get to do what we do, to make, for my personal biggest concern today, to be able to come to the racetrack and worry about qualifying a race car when other people are worried about losing their loved ones, and and that's just, we are very, very fortunate, and I think it reminds me that every day you got to thank yourself, or thank, the higher power that things they're good for you, things are going well.